nose wipes and some of the other features of gloves to look for when you're dealing with outdoor recreation and not your normal out and back into a hotel, but you're out for multiple days. So, one of the things that you might notice on some of the higher end gloves is a nose wipe area, which on the back of the thumb here is usually a velvety type material, and it is made just for that, because noses run when it's cold, which kind of defies logic because you think things would slow down when it gets cold, but noses run when it gets cold, so a lot of gloves will have a velour area for nose wiping. A couple other things to look for too. These are my dedicated climbing gloves. These are Kylie's new dedicated climbing gloves as well.
Which have snot on them.
Which now have snot on them, because we're outside in the cold. But one of the things to look for on gloves like this, my gloves here have a leash on them that you can put on here, and you can pull this up so it's snug on here. This allows you to take your glove off but not drop it if you're on the side of an ice climb. Another nice feature of the leashes, of these gloves, I mean, is you have a big loop on here, thumb loop to pull on, so you don't have to try to worry about trying to get in there and pinch it. You don't have to try to worry about getting in there with your little fingers, but it has a nice big glove area for that. Something else that's hidden on this glove and on hers, let me see your glove here. So underneath here we have a little zipper pocket, and that allows you to put a hand warmer on the back of the glove. This pair of glove here, which I really like for ice climbing because they're really thin, they allow good control of your tools. It has a spot right here for a hand warmer, and then one back here as well for a hand warmer. So you can actually warm up the blood right on the back of the wrist with this pair of glove, which is nice. And the last thing that really makes a nice pair of climbing gloves, which sadly her gloves do not have, is this carabiner loop. So if you see these little loops in the back of the gloves, these loops are actually for putting on a carabiner and attaching it to your harness. And the reason you'd want to put it on your harness like this is to prevent things from falling into it. So if you're working around an ice climb, or if it's snowing outside, yes. Yes?
Yes, okay. So, I want you to do this on camera, so I hope you put this on just randomly in the video kind of thing, where you can see me explaining. Okay, here goes. I want you to fall over in the video. Did I come off camera? That would be cool if I just my butt hurts now.
You totally came off camera.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day, folks.
Alright, so the carabiner loop there allows you to hang your gloves so you're not having snow or ice off of a climb or the snow from the sky fall into the glove itself and get it wet on the inside. Now, downsides to gloves like these. They're thin, so they are meant for active wear. They're not meant to be out in the super cold not doing much. The other downside too is that they are a single layer glove. So gloves like these tend not to dry out very fast, and they're not very good for multiple days in the backcountry. So that's when we go to a different glove. This is another pair of ice climbing gloves I have. Most of these are old too, so I'm not going to name particular models, but you can look for these different types of features for gloves that you may not have known these features exist when you go shopping for your next pair. But this pair here has the same thing. It has a carabiner loop on here. It has a cinch cord to cinch it around the gauntlet here area, which is nice. And the interior of this glove comes out. So this allows for two things. One, you can take out the insulated layer, and this allows for some light duty around camp if you don't have this big bulky glove on. It also allows you to throw these in your sleeping bag at night. Allows you to throw these in your sleeping bag at night and have them dry out with your body heat. Where if it's a single layer glove like this, it might not dry out, especially when they're Gore-Tex. It might just trap too much moisture in there. So that's an advantage of having a dual layer glove. The downside though is that it's bulkier. It's a little less control over any kind of ice tools, ice screws, building anchors than you would have with a thinner pair. You notice most of these gloves that I like to use are also gauntlet style gloves. And the reason for that is that when you have a gauntlet around your coat material here and you cinch this tight. Now this comes into good play when you're skiing, but also for ice climbing and such too. Stuff can't get back in here. If you think about skiing and you're going downhill, if you end up biting it and hitting the ground, you're going to have stuff want to fly over this, and you're trying to kind of make almost like a shingle system to keep things from coming inside the glove and inside your coat. So if you go to a pair like this is one of my favorite pair of gloves actually for being in the backcountry. It's because they're really thin, and my hands tend to get very hot when I'm active. And I usually will lose my hat and my gloves first before I start shedding other layers just to try to get heat out of my body. But these are not a gauntlet glove. So you can see my wrist is exposed here. This would not be good if I was climbing, because if I reach for things, I'm going to have my wrist exposed. If I fall down, I'm likely to get things into the transition area, which is not comfortable when you have a lot of cold snow packed around your wrist. A very sensitive spot to be too cold. And it doesn't go over top of gloves or over coats like this very easily. So there is a downside to that, but I love these old pair of Marmot gloves here just because they are so thin. And they have a goat skin leather palm too, which is nice because if you're working around cooking utensils in a stove, you won't burn the glove with direct contact to a hot surface. Where some of the artificial materials, you can melt it very quickly. So what do you think about your gloves, Kylie?
Well, I like the color, and they look like those people who like to hold eagles. They look like those kind of gloves. And I also like how they got hand warmer things. My fingers are cold right now, but I can't use one. And they don't reach your fingers, but yeah, they're nice.
The other nice thing about her gloves too is she has this pull cord here on the wrist to keep it on her hand, so she's less likely to have this come off. Again, if you're skiing and you bite it, it's very possible that your glove could get torn off your hand. So having this to cinch around the wrist there helps to prevent that. The other thing too is that these are all single hand controls, so you can pull this with one hand and also loosen this with one hand too. You don't have to have two hands to take this on or off, which is very convenient. The last thing to talk about for gloves to look for backcountry activity is this weird little pair here. These are called butter liners. I doubt they are made anymore by Mountain Hardware, but there's other manufacturers out there who make very, very thin gloves like this. And the purpose of this is not really so much for warmth. They can add a little bit of warmth to an existing pair because they're extremely thin, but the reason I like to wear these is when you're out in sunny weather. Cue the crickets, because we're in the Midwest and there's no such thing as sun in the winter here. But when you're out in the mountain areas where they actually do have sun and winter combined, this is really nice to keep the sun off your hands so you don't get sunburned. A lot of people will overlook that when they're in mountainous areas in the winter, and they'll come back with horrible sunburn. It's important to have sunscreen on your face or some kind of sun protection on your face because you have reflection from the snow as well. So much so that in certain conditions, it's actually advisable to put sunscreen on your fingertip and run it inside your nose, because you can get reflections up there and actually have the inside of your nostrils burned. Either way though, we were making a video about gloves today. We wanted to go over a couple features to look for. Just to recap, carabiner loops are really nice because you can hang them off your harness. Don't have to get snow on the inside. Looking for hand warmer pockets, which is really nice too because you can wear thinner gloves then and have more control over the tools that you're using when you're out in the backcountry. Having layer gloves, an inside layer and an outside layer allows you to dry them out in your backpack over your sleeping bag overnight. So that can make it so that you can get multiple days out of your gloves out in the backcountry. You don't have to carry so many pairs with you. So those are some of the things to look for when you're looking for higher end gloves for backcountry activities and you're not just going to a hotel every night. So thanks for tuning in. Maybe if you like and subscribe, this little girl gets to go on more adventures. How's that?
That'd be cool.
Be cool. What we just do recently?
We went winter backpacking and we went ice climbing and I fell over and my butt hurt. Just saying.
All right, so thank you for tuning in to Adventure Widely, and if you do like she says, like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. Have a great day.
Make sure to like this video. Please subscribe, and bye. Ow! No! I've been hit. I tried to throw it at you earlier, and you wanted to take it.
Hey, it's cold out here.